Is that too loud? I don't know. I'm always thinking that my streams are too quiet, so I feel like if I just crank up the volume a little bit, it won't be as, you know. Even though I'm screaming. You know? Piss me off. Are we getting... Yeah, let's just get into it. Let's just get into it. Hi, hello. Welcome to the stream. Yes, we have a yapping phase now, which is awesome. And, I don't even know if I was going to do this, but it's just so odd. I feel like I should get my reaction on camera. So, hold on. Let me show you guys something cool. This window will be for when I'm doing, like, traditional sketches. I don't know if, like, what I'd be drawing traditionally, because most of my traditional sketches are just like in my private sketchbook or figure studies. So unless you want to stream either here on YouTube or Twitch where I just do like figure studies for an hour or just like concept art, let me know. That would be really cool. I should probably be doing gestures this way. Whatever. So anyway, I, at least my mom came back from a shopping spree a little bit ago, and she got this mugwort tea. And I've heard of mugwort. I've never had it, but I hear it's medicinal and quite popular in Asian teas. So I was like, you know what, let's try this. Let's try it. Honestly, when she first got it, she thought it was matcha. And then she read the box and it was mugwort. It was like, oh, okay. And I've tried it. And it is, shall we say, a very odd flavor. And I mean, look at the color. First off, that is paint water. As you can see, I've had quite a bit of it. It is the color of paint water. It is got a very thick consistency because on the packet it says dissolve in 80 milliliters of water, which when I looked up 80 mil, that's 2 ounces. That's barely a shot in American, in freedom units. So, and the taste, y'all, I couldn't even try to describe the taste of this mugwort tea if I tried. Here. It tastes, it's reminding me of batter. And I don't know why. It's reminding me, like, I just had some, like, I just licked the spoon of my cornbread mix, and this is the aftertaste I'm getting. Now, it did say on the box 17 grain or something like that, so maybe that's what I'm picking up on. It's very grainy, it's got a lot of fiber in it, and that's what I'm picking up. That's why it's reminding me of cornbread. But, holy shit, what is this flavor? It's not bad. That's the thing. It's not bad. It's just odd. It's nothing I've ever drank before. You know? I mean, it's... Obviously, I've had something like it before because I can equate it to, like, cornbread or, like, pancake batter. Because I'm one of those people that like to, lick the spoon and scrape out the bowl and eat the raw batter. Because I fear no salmonella. But it is a very odd flavor. It's not something I would probably drink on the regular. But, I mean, it is interesting, to say the least. I mean, that color is just so baffling to me. I don't know if you didn't see it. Hang on, let me try to get some. No, you can't really see it on camera, but there is a lot of particles in the drink. It's very grainy. And I mean, yeah, it said on the package 17 grain, but still. I'm not used to this type of consistency in a drink, man. I got one gulp left. Drink her down, homie. Oh, yeah. Um, I'm probably not going to drink that again, which is unfortunate because we have a whole box of packets. And if I do, I will follow the directions exactly, drinking 2 ounces of this in a shot form. Or maybe I'll just put it in my mouth and I'll sip hot water. Who knows? I've seen people do that before. It was very funny. Where it's, you know, like those medicine packets you like put in 16 ounces of water and they force you to drink it. Where I saw this one, uh, she was a foreign exchange student from Japan, and she just put the medicine packet in her mouth and then drank tap water, swished it, and then swallowed it. It was like, and I just stared at her like, "Oh my god, you are a genius! That is genius! That is the best thing I've ever seen. I don't have to sit there and die." Trying to force myself to chug this tall glass of medicine when I can just put all the medicine in my mouth at once and then just chug water. I don't actually know the science behind that, if that's like a good or a bad thing, but anyway, I just wanted to share that because it was very odd and I had to finish it. And I knew if I have my normal streaming set up, y'all wouldn't know what the hell I'm talking about. So, on with the stream. So, leaving almost exactly off where starting where we left off the last time. Because I was doing other things off stream, and by other things I mean I got really into internet horror stories. Not like creepypastas, but like internet web series. Horror web series, and whew, that was a deep rabbit hole that I always fall into around this time of year, and it takes me a long time to pull myself back out. Come on. Just trying to get everyone's rough sheets back up. There we go. So, on the bright side, it is August 21st. We have exactly 1 month left of summer until the fall equinox on the 21st of September. Say, do you remember dancing in September? But just because September rolls around doesn't mean it's still not going to be hot. In fact, today is supposed to be the hottest day this week, and I am like, why today of all days when I decide to stream? To quote one of my favorite Judaica films, Fiddler on the Roof, God, was that really necessary? I'm just seeing it now. Ivy Whisper is also suffering from chibi head syndrome that hits a lot of my cats, so I'm just gonna quickly try and fix that. Here he is. Right? Yeah. Oh, shit, his eyes. Well, I'll figure that out. Okay, so... Transform... Jaggies. Oh my god. It was a body up. Dancing in September, body up. Say do you remember, body up. Never was a cloudy day. I say body up, body up. What was that? Okay, it's just things. Hold up. Okay, it's just... What does everything feel like on this, like, looking at OBS, everything feels like it's super loud, but then when I listen back to the VOD, it's like, why is everything so quiet? It's like, idiot, because you force the levels down so low that it's, they might as well be off. It's like, oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, for Ivy Whisper, I put his white and gray on the same layer because they all kind of blend together. Alright, phone, we're gonna have to have a discussion. I allowed you to be unmuted in case anyone needed to call me. But now you're being rude with your interruptions. Go away. Burp, 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 burp. A tiny, tiny part of me is like, you know what? Why don't I just leave it like that? Because that looks cool. But then I remember what I render my backgrounds like. I'm just, you know, yeah. Rip me in my Frankenstyle. So I don't draw the way I color, which is really funny. Any artist will tell you that they have their style is never uniform. Their line art always leans more one way, and then the coloring leads more the way of the other. It just happens when you that dang. If you hear semi trucks and a big ol' going by, it's because apparently there's a semi truck convention nearby and everyone has to go on this road. I don't know. What was I just talking about? Damn, I swear I don't have dementia. It's just... Oh my god, what was I just talking about before I talked about semi-trucks? Oh, right, yeah. Frankenstyles. It's just all, it's a natural outcome of drawing your source of information and studying under, uh, multiple different masters and different styles and whatnot, because line art I learned from I learned how to do my line art from cartoons and other comics and whatnot. I learned how to color from picture books, like not really from picture books, but like yeah, from coloring pages traditionally, and I learned how to render backgrounds um from painters, like just the style of it. So my my style now is just an eclectic weird mix of cartoony coloring book Renaissance painting. Not to say that my backgrounds are Renaissance-esque, far from it, but my latest illustration definitely you can tell the big difference in style between the character and the background. It's always, which is always funny to me, because then I'll draw the, like, I want to have an illustration where I have a character doing yada yada on a background with, you know, like a fully illustrated background. I swear I can talk, it's just not today. Wow. But then it's like, why isn't this illustration turning out the way I imagined it? And it's like, well, it's because in my mind's eye, the style is a lot more cohesive. But in practice, not so much. Also, I swear, I'm not tired every single stream. Every time I go live. It's just I always stream in the late morning to noon because that's just when I have available. Because I mean, early morning I refuse to do because I'm still in bed. I eepy. And like actual noon is lunchtime, and I have been trying to get better about actually eating in a timely manner. And then in the evening, yeah, that's when I'm most awake and creatively active and whatnot. But it's also when the rest of the house is home and active and doing things and inside the house. It's like, well. But then also, if I'm not working, like, what am I doing? But even though I could be doing house chores, honestly, I should relegate my mornings to house chores. Because right now, I wake up, I go outside and water the garden before I've even had breakfast. And then I like to have a nice slow breakfast, enjoying the quiet when I can have it. Because I have this horrible tendency to speedrun my food. Like, to be speed eating, which is not healthy. And I've been trying to break out of. So then after I do that, I should just put my dishes away and then do house chores. And there's also this book I got from the library that I've only read like the first chapter of, and it's due the 12th of September, so I'm just, oh crap. Alright, yeah, I should sit down and actually read that stupid book. So, it's not that it's a bad book, it is very interesting, it's just a lot of dense history. While also being kind of told, not quite as an autobiography, but kind of like a living history, if you know what I mean. It's just a lot of information all at once. It's not like a narrative book where I can just, like, sit down and read it like it's an episode of a telenovela. No, well, not to say that telenovelas aren't dense and complex and need, like, 3 story guides just to follow along. Because they do. It's all about habits. I have a habit of starting my work as soon as I'm done eating and have no other obligations. Because there's that part of my brain that feels like I need to be working. And if I'm not working, I'm wasting the day. You know. Unhealthy coping mechanisms. I swear, one damn stream will not talk about trauma and coping mechanisms. I swear. One day. It, not anytime soon, but it is not this day. But there will be a day. Oh my god, that's the wrong. Here we go. Anyway. It's just a long, hard process of self-improvement that you do need to talk about with other people so they can help hold you accountable. And at least, even if you don't have anyone else to talk to, just saying your plans out loud makes them more real. So, at least that's how I think it is. I don't know what the actual psychology of that is. Excuse me. I am 100% certain that YouTube as a whole just shadow banned any channel, whether you're monetized or not. If you have a cartoony or even slightly colorful art style, I'm pretty sure they just shadow banned you. Whether you're monetized. Yeah. And that's not in a, oh, I'm not getting views, it must be because YouTube's against me, bleh. I never got any views anyway. I'm just saying that, like, as a whole, because my For You page has been really weird lately. And it might be because I've also watched weird things, but my suggestion box, I'm not seeing a single dang cartoon. Or animation. Now, people talking about what's happening to animation channels, that's all over the place because it's an outrage. But, like, actual animated projects, like animatics and whatnot, where'd they go? I know where they went. They got shadow banned. Which is probably why the next animatic I make on YouTube is going to probably not get any views whatsoever, and I'm just bracing for that reality. But on the bright side, it might be one of those things where I make it, and then just because the current algorithm isn't pushing it doesn't mean it won't push it eventually, because then there might be a weird algorithm pull, like, oh, I don't know, 7 years down the line. And then people are like, oh my god, how long was this here? Because that's happened so many times. from this, we would maybe at least see that. Yeah. Speaking of my next animatic project, that's what I've been working on when I'm not on stream, because I finished my VTuber, or my VTuber, wow, my GIFTuber. I finished it finally, as you can see. And a lot of prep work is going into this one, mostly because I'm not exactly sure what, like, how lore heavy I want it to be, if I just want it to be like just artistic expression and poetic license and whatnot, or if I want to tell a little bit more of a story, or like half of a story, like I have with my other animatics. So I'm just trying to hammer out the dents, hammer out the details on what's going on, because then if I decide on the story that I have in mind, then oh my god, the amount of designing, just environmental work that's going to be involved is going to be astronomical. However, it's kind of, all of my animated projects are leading up to eventually having an animated series, so this will just be the next thing. And it also doesn't help that I'm picking a slightly longer song than usual. I mean, I can cut it down, but I kind of need all of that time, because the only bits I could cut are like high emotional parts of the song, and I don't want to do that. I want this to be... I'm realizing also that the story is going to be a little bit of a bummer. And I do apologize for that. I swear, I'm not always listening to sad songs and crying, even though that's all I've been doing this week. I hope I don't make too many people cry, but at the same time, I kind of want to make someone at least a little teary-eyed with this one. Not quite like... Actually, no, there was... Because I had two animatic ideas, where I thought, okay, I can either do this one for my main channel, and it'll just be another rune entry, or I can do an official animatic for my planned YouTube, my planned animation series, just to get that ball rolling. And I was thinking, I was like, man, I could do one or the other, but I'm not sure which to do. And I kind of just want something done, and then maybe I can start working on it for later. But then my brain just said, well, why not just do both? And then you just work on the rune one for Subtober, or for September, and then work on the other one for, like, November. Because October is going to be fall illustrations, which I do have a few planned. I haven't thumbnailed them yet, because I think I'm going to save that for a stream or something. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. And then I also had another idea for an animated project. I'm just thought, okay, please, please. One at a time. Just put a time out. One at a time, please. Then I really started getting delusional, and my brain was like, you know what? I could just start doing comics and animatics and make that be my video instead of trying to think about topic videos all the time. Just do animatics, or like animated progress reports, and be like, that would be a lot of copyright strikes. But I'm also sitting there like, just make the creative process work for you, not the other way around. Okay, yep. I mean, it wouldn't be hard to come up with ideas. That's, with the amount of scripts and ideas I have for animatics, that is at least half a year's worth of work with breaks in between. So it's not like I would like run out of ideas. And I mean, let's be honest, every song I listen to, I have a music video playing in my head. Some of them slightly more ambitious than the other. Oh, it's done, done, done. Just put Snowblaze and Brindlefur on their own layers, because Snowblaze, the easiest character to color, and Brindlefur, the hardest character to color. What's your name? Am I ever gonna find you? Am I reading the wrong? Excuse me. I'm alone in this place as I stare out into space, and I feel something strange, like my world has changed. I'm alone in this place as I stare out into space, and I feel something strange, like my world has changed. Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? We haven't met, but I wrote this song for you. Is there anybody out there? I had thought of doing a RuneScript animatic for that song as well, but then, I just didn't. Mostly because I thought that I would keep my animatics to a once-a-year occurrence, but then, you know, thinking about it now, it's like, you know, I don't have to be bound by my own rules, you know. I could just make shit. Oh yeah, free will is a thing. I keep forgetting that. Hey, Gestrogen, welcome to the stream. We are talking about free will again. And how I'm thinking, haven't decided on it yet, that I'll start doing more animatics just when I feel like it, instead of forcing myself to think of, like, topic discussion videos, because I haven't made an actual YouTube video in a while, and I have no passion to do so. Like, I lost all of my passion for making YouTube videos. I still like streaming, don't get me wrong, but YouTube videos in general, lost it. I don't know where I was when I last had it. But I know it's probably one of those things that will come back on its own. So, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I can probably trace it back to August of last year. And then if you just look back on the channel, you can see there was a noticeable decrease in creativity. Or at least in content. That I don't want to get into on stream again, because I just finished crying. Anyway, I swear I'm not depressed. So that being said, after September on Twitch, when I do this year, like this Runes animatic, I'm going to do fall illustrations for October, and then maybe November start working on another animatic. We'll see, because November was also supposed to be another break month, because September, October, that's like 2 months straight of just constant go. And August was supposed to be my writing break month, and for the most part, I did do a lot of writing, and then I started thinking about other projects, like the upcoming animatic projects. It's like, I don't have a script ready. I need to get on that. And then there was like 2 days straight where I basically did nothing but listen to music and watched internet horror web series. Like, I binged Marble Hornets last week in a few days. Not even a few days, it was like 2 days. I just binged Marble Hornets. So I love that series. It's a really good series. If you haven't seen Marble Hornets, like I said, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this last time. What the hell? it is one of those series where it's really hard to recommend because it is very much a product of its time. Not in a bad way, but it's like a slow burn horror. You were along for the ride as it was happening in, air quote, real time. Same with other ones like Everyman Hybrid and maybe Black Horizon could be in that as well. I mean, when it was coming out, yeah, I just came late to the party for Black Horizon. Not the AI Slop channel. I'm talking about the other found footage web series. And then I discovered another found footage web series the other day, and that actually scared the bejesus out of me. It was called Hollow Birds, and I don't know why. Maybe it was just based on some sort of primal instinct, but that series, that was spooky. So if you're in for the spooks, and you like found footage web series, watch Hollow Birds. It's not that long, actually. You know, most web series of the found footage nature are like 10 hours long. This one wasn't. At least it didn't seem that long. Who knows, maybe it was. To answer your question, Jester, I'm doing fine. Really. I am. It's just... I don't like summer. It just drags out the worst in me. For multiple different reasons. So then I'm just constantly irritated and aggro. So then when I'm by myself, I can mostly just stay quiet and then forget what's happening and just internalize it. But then when I hit go live and it's like, all right, what do I talk about? Well, what's on my mind? God, fucking heat and smoke and fires and just everything sucks. And global warming and blah. So, that's why. I don't like it. Okay, now for the hardest character. Thank God she's only on here twice. Where is my... Hang on. I'll be right back. I need to go get my water bottle, actually. I used it to take my meds this morning, and then I left it on the table. No worries, though. She's here. Awesome sauce. that sound right orange? No, it is not at all. Hey, hold. So anyway, I know focusing more on animatics or like animation, especially with today's YouTube climate, is just going to be channel suicide, especially with the copyright strikes. And then all the shadow banning, just like, your content is for children. It's like, it's literally not. Anyway. You have a water drinking animation that feels overkill somehow. It's actually supposed to be when I drink coffee because, you know, I do it. It causes a gap in the conversation. And it's just a fun little, visual intrigue. And it's like 2 frames. It's not that big a deal at all. Oh, this... What was overkill was having my, yap my animation for yapping. That was 5 whole ass frames, all with individual unique movements. It's like, why did I do that to myself? It's for art! What you currently have in your mouth is art! Oh my god. It's been so long since I've seen that movie. I should watch it. Oh, these buckets are not where they should be. My face is not like the other. Oh, actually, no, that was correct. I just had to shoot it this way. Evergreen issue of thinking something would be cool, but then realizing it's way too much effort. I think it, if it's cool, I think anything would be worth the effort. As long as it supports the creative, your creative vision. Because, I mean, if you think, wow, this is way too much effort for something we think will be cool, you should see the behind the scenes of any old movie. The amount of effort and detail and bullshit they had to go through just to make the shot look cool would all be worth it in the end. I mean, have you seen Jaws? Have you heard of the behind the scenes story of what was happening on the set of Jaws? It is baffling how much bullshit they went through just to make that movie happen. I've not heard this, no. Oh my god. Okay, so what happened was a great myriad of things happened everywhere all at once. So, first off, location. The filming location of Jaws, the majority of it in Martha's Vineyard, the locals and the town committee were so against the movie being filmed there, they would literally slash their car tires, put up no loading zone signs, jack up their prices at their local businesses to charge these big shot Hollywood slickers that think they can come here and ruin our small town charm by making this movie. And the actual town committee was like, no, you need a permit for that. Well, no, you can't do that because you need this. Or no, you actually need to do that, and then you need to go talk to this guy. You know, a lot of BS just for filming on location. That's not, we're not even talking about the complications with the shark animatronic that didn't even work for the first, God, what was it, year, basically, of production. The animatronic they used for the shark, because at first they wanted to train a real shark, but then they realized that's really hard, and then they couldn't train a shark, so they're, okay, well, maybe we'll just get some wildlife documentary filmers, and they'll film sharks, and then we'll splice together the shots we need. And some of those shots did make it into the film, but only a few of them ever did. You will, if you watch the movie, you'll know what shots I'm talking about. There are several shots that were of a real shark that made it into the Jaws film, but everything else had to be the animatronic, and even half the time the animatronic shark wasn't even there. The reason why they did the air barrels for that whole Jaws chase scene, or you would just see a fin or a shadow move, it was because the animatronic wasn't working. They couldn't get it to work. First of all, when they first engineered the hydraulic pumps to make the shark move, they engineered it for freshwater, not saltwater. Oops. So then, when they actually they first launched the animatronics, the shark sank straight to the bottom of the harbor, and they're, oh god, this movie it's not gonna be made, it's just not gonna be finished. So they had to haul the shark out of the water, fix the hydraulics, and everything else that went wrong, which everything went wrong. And then when they would go out at sea to film on location, they're like, okay, Orca main ship right here, shark animatronic here, Ritter ship on the outside just on a frame, and wait, someone's private yacht's going by, we have to wait for them to move. Oh, now the ocean is too rough, now we have to go back in. Now the sun is setting, alright, well, good day shooting, guys, we got 2 seconds of film. It was like that for months. Somehow, by a miracle only can be managed by Spielberg's young determination, because he was like 26 at the time. He was younger than me when he made Jaws. And just the whole team pulling together, they somehow got the movie Jaws made and in theaters, and it got a standing ovation at the box office. It is phenomenal. There's this YouTube channel called It Was a Shit Show that I think you might actually enjoy. And it's because that channel talks about the behind the scenes production of all of your favorite movies, or at least all the ones that were a shit show, and talk about just the BS that they had to go through. And I know all of this, not only because I watched It Was a Shit Show, but it's because I like watching interviews and behind the scenes, and finding, just random trivia about some of my favorite movies. I mean, Jaws was my favorite movie when I was like 10 or something, because I really like sharks. Yes, I'm that kind of autistic. Same with, like Jurassic Park. That was... You've never seen... you? Don't answer that. I mean, okay, well, great. Watch Jaws. I won't kill you, I'll just make you watch it. Seriously. If you like movies in any way, shape, or form, watch Jaws. Because Jaws is it's one of those classic movies that it didn't quite change cinema, but it was just a miracle that it happened at all. So then when you watch the film, you're like, huh, you know, this is like a typical movie of the time. It was like, what, in the 70s or something when it came out? This is a typical movie of the time. And then you watch the behind the scenes and you're like, oh my god, everything about this movie is amazing. How did they even pull that off? Especially with no CG. No CGI. Well, okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there was a single shot of CGI in the original Jaws. It was all practical effects. Not like with, Now, because Jurassic Park did have CGI. Yes, they had the animatronics and a few bits that were based in stop motion, which was really cool to learn that little tidbit behind the scenes. Originally, the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park were going to be stop motion. But Spielberg didn't like how janky the movements were, which is, like, very typical of stop motion. So instead of having all the stop motion riggers and artists, really, have all their work go to waste, they use the stop motion for the storyboards and the behind the scenes just to give the actors and the animatronic handlers something to work off of. Because, I mean, while the animatronics in Jurassic Park were amazing, the exact movement, like the base movements were done by the animatronics. Everything else was supported by the CGI. And I'm not against CGI. I just think CGI is something that should be used in like as a supporter. Like practical, I'm all for practical effects. And maybe a little bit of superimposing. Give the actors something to act to. And I think CGI should just be used to elevate or just give it a little boost. You're young enough that it wasn't culturally relevant at the time. Well, neither was for me. Jaws had been out like 20 years by the time I watched it. It was already an old movie. It's just, I mean, everyone knows the da-da, da-da, I mean, everyone knows the theme song. Stop motion with live action? Yeah, they were gonna try and do that. Like, and there was one movie, oh god, what was it called? It was this old movie, it was a Greek myth adaptation that combined live action with stop motion, and that scene is still acclaimed as one of the hardest and best scenes put to film. And it made cinema history, and I can't remember what it was for the life of me. I think it was Jason and the Argonauts, but I don't remember if that was the name of the movie. And it was the stop motion skeleton fight, where the live action actors were fighting with with a stop motion skeleton army, and it was so perfectly superimposed that you almost couldn't even tell. At least when I watched, I was trying to watch, like, how the hell did they do this? It was so well done. I'm pretty sure it was Jason and the Argonauts. Or at least I'm talking about that, because it wasn't the Odyssey. And it wasn't Hercules. And it wasn't that Jason and the Argonauts movie. God, I'm pretty sure it was. It might have been. Oh, I watched it once in high school when we were doing a mythology course. Which also just turned into a film history course. Because what you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Yeah, I grew up in the generation where a lot of kids knew about the old movies. Like, everyone knew the Jaws theme, everyone knew it was about a shark, but I was one of the kids that actually watched it. I don't know why my parents allowed me to watch these kinds of films. Probably because they didn't scare me as a kid. Now, the thing, I'm so glad my parents didn't allow me to watch that before I was ready, because holy crap, that would have traumatized me as a wee bab. That would have traumatized me. Mom is still afraid of sharks to this day because of Jaws. Yeah, even the movie, the film creators and the author of the book, yes, because Jaws was based on a book, the author of the book is still, maybe still, but he was very regretful of writing Jaws the way he did, because of Jaws, a lot of shark demonization propaganda came out, and then shark finning was already popular, but then like people actually started going out and hunting sharks for sport. It's like, no, 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 no. Sharks are not that. Please don't do that. So it's because of that that he donated a lot to shark conservation and shark research. One of my favorite dumb shark movies is Deep Blue Sea. That one is fun. In Deep Blue Sea, they were, of course, trying to cure Alzheimer's. So, and since sharks don't get cancer or show any sign of degradation or oh my god. Genetic degrading as they age, there we go. They decided to use a shark to use as a base or a host for their anti-Alzheimer's medication, and use genetic tampering. Well, as a side effect, the sharks got smarter. And the sharks don't really like being held in captive, so they decided to do something about it. Very fun. There's a few CGI shots in there that I know this is supposed to be scary, and it was like, oh my god, the shark got him, but I'm sitting here just laughing because the CGI was so bad. But for the most part, the movie was very good, very well done. A lot of the acting was just you not knowing where the shark was, so you could get away with not having the shark present all the time. Because you could just have something move in the water, or just have a shadow. Or just have like an audio cue to let you know that the shark is nearby. You know, kind of like in Jaws. And I think they do have a reference to Jaws in that movie, or it could be a different, or was it a different license plate? I know they had a license plate in there that I think was a direct reference to Jaws, which is really funny. Okay. So far, so good. So, behind the scenes footage for classic movies is my crack cocaine. That is my Roman Empire. I hate that phrase, but it's the only one. It's the one that's, like, most equitable. Equitable? Equatable? Most relevant? I don't know. English is a weird language. So, last stream was the 5-year anniversary of working on Path to Brighter Stars and live streaming it on YouTube. So for shits and giggles, I watched part of the old VOD I had for that live stream. And oh my goodness, I have come so far as a streamer and as an artist. If you watch those old streams, oh my god, don't, please don't. You'll embarrass me. It was very early in my streaming career, right? I didn't know how to keep talking to air, even though I talk to myself, or I just make vocalizations by myself. I didn't even sing on stream, and it's probably because on stream I had copyright-free music playing quietly that I could hear, so I was just listening to that music instead of talking. And now I just have the music playing for you guys. I can't hear the background music at all because it's just playing through OBS. That's a little better. The way she's sitting is weird. And I did remember, she is pregante in this, you just did you nervous the whole time? I was nervous while also, like, in my head, I was just, what do I even talk about? I can't talk about what happens in the comic because it's a spoiler, and I can't talk about, any of this because I'm focusing on drawing. Like, I couldn't draw and talk at the same time. I didn't have that skill. I just gestured with my hands. I didn't have that skill. I didn't have that in my skill tree yet, so it was both a not knowing what to talk about while also not knowing how to talk to air while doing something. I still have moments where I go quiet because I'm, you know, locked in. Like, I do apologize. There's gonna be a few bits here in the middle after I finish the base coloring and get to the background. I'm probably gonna go nonverbal. Probably. Who knows? We might manage. And it was also, I was used to people not engaging with me, but I was also constantly watching. Like, I had the chat open up on my phone. I was constantly looking over, like, anybody here? No? Okay. What's the point? You know, I was just, like, silently going through all that in my head. Thinking, man, what's the point? No one even shows up. Why do I even bother? And it was also middle of summer. But I kept going because bleh. Sounds disheartening. Yeah. I still deal with that today. Not today, but you know, like to this day, I still deal with that. Like there's moments where I'm streaming for a good hour and nothing happens, like no one shows up, and I know I have subscribers. And this isn't like a nobody came to my stream. Meh. I don't mean for it to sound like that. I'm just saying that I remember last year before August that, you know, I would hit go live and immediately there'd be 3 people going, oh yay, you stream, yay! And it would be like, I'd have a group of like 5 or regulars that would come in to stream and we'd all talk. It was kind of like a one-sided friend group chat that we would all have, and we would just yap for hours. And that is fun. That's what keeps me going for streaming, because it's that moment that I like the most. I'm gonna make the star actually a little bit more pink because it's fresh. And mostly hiding under moss, so we're probably not gonna see a whole lot of it. Now I feel bad for this. Don't feel bad. I don't mean to guilt anybody. Okay, I'm not guilting anybody. You're not obligated. I am not obligated to your viewership. This is your free time that you are deciding to spend how you wish. I am not obligated to your viewership. And you are not, you know, expected to always show. Even if, you don't feel like it, or if you're just doing something else. There is no obligation. Just because you come into stream sometimes, or just because you hit subscribe, that doesn't mean you have to watch every single thing I put out there. I have channels that I've subscribed to, and I still haven't watched any of their shit, because I was just like, you know, I'll come back to it eventually. What if YouTube would have told me, literally, did you ring the bell? You gotta hit like, subscribe, make sure to ring that bell, and comment for more. You know, the bullshit that every YouTuber is like, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It's because if they don't say that, people don't do it. And if people don't do it, YouTube doesn't push out their channel. So it's not your fault. Literally. It's not your fault. And it's no one but YouTube's fault. And they're hell-bent on shooting themselves in the foot, it seems. God, it did. Well, there you go. Her fang! I almost forgot her fang! Ah! The whole reason why she's named Hogfang is because she's got a snaggletooth. Ah! I've forgotten to ring the bell. I forget sometimes too. And sometimes, even if you ring the bell, YouTube won't always notify you. Especially since I am a furry, comic, got some animations in me YouTube channel. I'm not pushed that much in the algorithm. What is her color paw pads? Oh, right, her ear. There we go. It's things you gotta think about when doing warrior cat stuff. YouTube hates furries. Well, YouTube has been doing this thing where they've been demonetizing animation channels. And I'm not monetized on YouTube at all because I just don't make enough views for them to give a shit about me. But other channels have basically been shadow banned and forcibly marked as for kids because they have a cartoonish art style, or they don't cuss as much, or they don't have as much vulgarity, blah blah. That doesn't mean jack shit, because there's plenty of content on the YouTube Kids app that is straight up porn. Yes, I said the P word. I will not censor myself for the sake of an algorithm, which is another reason why I'm probably not pushed as much in the algorithm. I say things like trauma, abuse. I say the big boy no words. Because I hate the ooh-woo self-censorship language. I get why a lot of channels are forced to do that. This is how you make money. So, ergo, you should play by their rules if you're going to broadcast on their website. But the catchphrase for YouTube used to be broadcast yourself. So, it's the principle of it all. I don't agree with it, like, the principles. So, I refuse to follow their rules. And thus, am punished for it. Also, you know, I don't post as many videos as I used to, and a lot of the videos I do post are not algorithmically charged, because I also refuse to play that game. So YouTube doesn't hate furries, but Twitch definitely hates VTubers. Even though they make Twitch the most money, anytime someone gets immediately banned or kicked off the website for even the slightest of infringement, it's usually the VTuber who's first on the chopping block. Because they're cartoony, anime, you know, got the booba. There's no face behind it. It's like, oh, it's inauthentic content, so you're obviously AI. It's like, meanwhile, they're using AI to peddle more AI schlop and bullshit. It's just, wow, Ruin, you sure do complain a lot on stream. There's a fucking lot to complain about. Sorry, cat. I scared my cat with that. I'm sorry, baby. She got into some boxes and it spooked her. There you go. Anyway, there's a lot to complain about. I unfortunately have the strong sense of justice neurodivergency. Can't do math or spelling, but I do have a strong sense of justice and right and wrong. That pisses me off. Also, I've rebranded my channel like 5 times in the last 2 years. Which is not great algorithmically. But hey, I was going through some shit, so you'll forgive me. if by this time next year I look completely different. You still want to stream? Is that fucked up, or am I just hubristic? Oh no, I always advocate for, like, if you want to do something creatively, by all means go do it. Just don't get your hopes up too high, because you will be disappointed, and I don't want you to get disheartened. I don't want anybody to get disheartened when something doesn't immediately work out, because I get disheartened when something doesn't immediately work out, and do not be like me. Yeah, it has a lot of drawbacks, but when you make it work, it works. It's like an abusive relationship. When it's bad, it is awful, but when it's good, it is euphoric. So that's a thing, it's an ADHD thing. Oh, absolutely. Instant gratification. I think I should really revisit that video, because I made a video years ago talking about, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, I made a video talking about AI and how it's bullshit and why you don't need it creatively. And I dismantled a bunch of arguments of people saying, well, I needed to do this, or I'm no good at this, so I need AI to do this. And that was 3 years ago when AI was just, like, starting to get really big. Now I would have so much more to talk about, because now we know more, but, you know, I just don't really want to get into it because everyone else has already said the same thing. But anyway. And I made the analogy that when babies are first learning to walk, they don't just take one step, fall over, and then just sit there and cry and never get back up again. You may cry for a little bit. You are allowed at least a 10-minute cry when you fall over. But you just get back up and you start again. Even if you just start with crawling, it's okay to just start with crawling. We've all started with crawling and rolling over. And then when you first stand up, that is amazing. Celebrate your little milestones, because we all started there. Sometimes I just watch my old videos because I need motivation. I might need to turn on my under desk nut fan because my legs are getting super sweaty, but that fan is so flipping loud. I don't know. Maybe I'll just stick with the one that's currently running in the background. If it gets too unbearable, because today's supposed to be like the hottest day of the week, which... bleh. Oh, you've never heard that phrase? The under desk fan to cool your legs down? It's called the nut fan. Because usually guys have it right under the desk, pointed right at them, to cool themselves off, because there's a lot of sweaty down there. So I just took the term, because apparently I'm a teenage boy. Oh, you've never heard that? Oh. Oh. So I watch gamers sometimes, and they would rate each other's desk setup. And it just picked up on that phrase. Like, oh, yep, got the nut fan. Great, great, great. I keep forgetting that we don't all travel in the same circles on the internet. As apparent by last stream of us spending 20 minutes going like, what meme is that? I mean, since I'm a woman, I guess I could call it the coochie cooer. It's mostly for my legs. Because I am the type of person that when I am sweating at night and need to cool off, you just stick one foot out from under the blankets. And there you go. You immediately cool off. There you go. Yes. I didn't fully say it, so hush. No one heard anything. This is an 18+ channel. Not because we do anything not safe for work or anything like that. We just talk about taxes and the government. And are not shy about our body's biological functions. Because America is basically a cult. America was basically founded on shame culture. And I will not be shamed for being the way I am. In ways that I cannot help. I'll preface with that. There we go. You know, switching topics completely. When starting this comic, I thought, you know, I would do more supplementary illustrations of the characters. Because before the comic even started, I did a series of illustrations for each character that was supposed to, like, set up why each of them were leaving the clans, or like to set up their character arcs for the story. And since I'm more like, I at the time liked to think I was more of an illustrator than anything else. I'm literally not. I have to actually sit down and pull teeth before I can be an illustrator. I'm more of a writer and concept artist, or character designer, let's just say. And then I would get really upset with myself that I wasn't doing more supplementary illustrations. Because Sherman set the Wayback Machine to a year ago, probably 3 years ago at this point, where I would do, every 10th page posted, I would do a sketch dump stream. And for Path to Brighter Stars, and for the most part, they were fun. But it was a lot of me not really drawing. Because I didn't have any ideas for sketches, and I hate sketching on stream. Because sketching is just the hardest part for me, because posing... Oh my god, posing is so damn hard. I got stray hair on me. I thought it was something crawling on me. So I used to do that. But then, you know, whoops, that was the wrong color. Now, I'm thinking, well, I'm doing a comic with them. I draw these characters like 3 times a page with fully rendered backgrounds, shading, and lighting with dialogue. I draw these bitches enough. I don't need to do full illustrations with them when each goddamn panel is an illustration. The hardest part about this entire process is learning to be more forgiving with myself. There we go. But that's part of the learning, just part of the learning process. I first started this whole project, and I could probably make a whole. No, stop. I first started this project to not only vent my frustrations of a beloved book series I used to read, but also as practice for my other, air quote, official graphic novel that I want to make, that I'm still scripting, and I'm having so much fun scripting it. I've been working on this thing since I was 10 years old. I made a few videos about it previously called The Path to Brighter Stars. I've even streamed a little bit of it here on YouTube, and that was really fun. But I felt like my skill set wasn't quite ready to tackle Path to Brighter, Dreamwalkers, because Dreamwalkers is a bit of a beast in its, what I want it to look like. Because every time I imagine bits from that story, it's animated, not a graphic novel. But it's like, you know what, I'll just start with a graphic novel, and then maybe later we'll think about animation. Because, holy crap, even animated, that thing would be a beast. So, what was I even talking about? Oh yeah, starting out, this was just practice. But in a way, because it became so big, it was more so something that I needed to do to prove to myself that it could be done. That I could do it. That it's possible for me to do. That I can commit to something. I haven't even commit to a canon design for my own Sona for any more than 2 years, but I've been working on this comic for 5. I can commit to something. Because I used to think, you know, it would get so bad where I think, man, do I just have commitment issues? Can I just not commit to anything? And then it's like, oh, no. 5 years, doll. 5 years. Yes, we're still in part 1, but I know exactly where the story is going to go from here. At least until the end of part 1. When part 2 rolls around, well, we'll figure that out when we get there. But I do have I have a plan. I have 12% of a plan. Never say make your dream project first. Absolutely. Yeah, a dream project. Dreamwalkers. Haha. Well, Dreamwalkers has been my baby since I was 10. Not just for 10 years. since I was 10, actual 10 years old, give or take, I've had this story in my head. Yes, it looks nothing like it used to when I first conceptualized it from the ground up. Same with my animated series Gatesville. When I first conceptualized that, whew, it looks nothing like that now. Like Ernest Hemingway says, each first draft is always shit. He's right in that regard. Say what you will about Ernest, he had some very good ideas. Yeah, I just heard the advice, never start with your darling or with your magnum opus, because then A, it won't be as good as you wanted it to, and then it's out there. And B, that's all you will be known for. Like, I know the example everyone uses is J.K. Rowling, even though I hate that bitch. But when she published Harry Potter and then did the Harry Potter series, what has she done since? What could she possibly write? She's the Harry Potter woman. She can't really do anything else. No, I'm being a complete Philistine here, but who's Ernest Hemingway? He's a famous classic literature author. He wrote, oh no, I'm the Philistine. What did Ernest Hemingway write? Hang on, where's my phone? I tossed it on the other side of the room. Where's my phone? Here we go. Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway. Books. Okay, yeah. He wrote old ass books that I've never even read. The Old Man and the Sea, The Sun Also Rises, A Farewell to Arms, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and it's another one called A Movable Feast. I've never read any of Hemingway's work, but I like a lot of his quotes and his writing advice. I've actually been following some of his writing advice when working on a different project. Actually, when I was writing my latest block of Dreamwalkers, I was following some of Ernest Hemingway's writing advice, and it's good stuff. If you look up the life of Ernest Hemingway, he had quite the interesting escapade. I was more of a fan of Steinbeck rather than Ernest Hemingway. But it was Ernest Hemingway that said, write hard and clear about what hurts. And I've been following that advice since I first heard it, like 6 years ago. I'm saying 6, but that's a very random number. I just pulled out of thin air. I don't actually remember when I first heard that advice, but when I did hear that advice, it was, you know what? I'm gonna live my life by that. And that's when I really started getting serious about my stories. Not so much Path to Brighter Stars, because this can still be the thing I wanted it to from the beginning. But my other stories, I'm like, alright, what am I actually trying to say here? What is the story actually about? Who is it for? So that's when I really started thinking about the emotional impact and the psychology that goes into the types of stories we tell and what we gravitate towards. Also, the other quote, not by Ernest Hemingway, but art is supposed to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. Was it? Nodding along. Yes. Very well good. Very good. Very good, sir. I forgot I still had my yap thing on. I feel like that kind of writing device is a little bit more helpful than just write what you want to read. Even though that is still good advice, it's just not quite as helpful for people like me. You know, I love found footage internet horror stories. I could never make one. I like hearing about RPG series. Especially when it comes to, like, internet lore. Something like, you know, Everyman Hybrid. And I just heard about the Wyoming incident. It was like, wow! That took a lot of coordination, even though the Wyoming incident kind of fell apart because it was the internet's first anything. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. I'm not even sure what any of that is also. Except Everyman Hybrid. Everyman Hybrid was another YouTube series that in the Slenderverse that was inspired by Marble Hornets. And Marble Hornets was it was the first Slenderman video series. Of course, they didn't call him Slenderman, they called him the Operator. And I freaking love Marble Hornets. If you can't already tell, I don't shut up about it. There we go. Stray pixels are not allowed. Phew! Finally. Sheesh. Hour and 50 minutes in and we finally did the base coloring. Yeehaw. Alright. Now it's time for the backgrounds, the hardest part. They're actually not hard. They just take the longest. Alright. We'll do 1 and 2. And then on a different layer. One. No, they should. You know what? Let's just do this, and then we'll figure that out. That. Into that. There we go. Now they're all on separate layers. This should actually... I didn't draw that. Because I was gonna airbrush it. Okay, yeah. This should actually be the darkest because There's the thick forest and foliage behind them. This should be only slightly lighter, because this is ThunderClan territory. This is ShadowClan territory, so it's going to be the darker. Since this is RiverClan and WindClan, they should be a little bit lighter. Because they're more out in the open. Still just a little bit dark. There. And now, where the magic happens. Where I start all of my base illustrations now with grayscale just so we can get the texture rendered properly and the values. Should the lake be darker than this guy? Hang on. We got, whoops. Because this is the lake, so... And it's night of... What was this? It wasn't the full moon, was it? Hang on, where's my other pages? Page 2. Yeah, it was a crescent moon. So it actually should be a little bit darker. Hang on, let's bring up the original page 1. Let's have a moment of reflection and a moment of silence for how much we've come. Wow. 5 years. This is what 5 years does. This is what 5 years of constant work and striving for self-improvement does. Read this comment, but knowing nothing about werecats. It would just sail over my head. Yeah. Unfortunately, I did write this series with, fans in mind. So if you know nothing about werecats lore, you are going to be a little bit lost, but I think I explain it enough. Because I hate spoon-feeding the audience information. I hate that. So I would have characters just talk about a thing as if they, you know, live in that world where that thing is common knowledge. So they're not going to just stop and explain naming conventions, because why would they? That is their culture. Why would they stop and explain naming conventions to someone who was raised in it? So if you want to, like, play a little bit of detective work, but it's mostly them talking about, well, we used to do it this way, and then going, well, we're not there anymore. We're not with the clans anymore. Do we really need to follow the old ways if we're starting anew. But it's like, but then it's also a question of, do we completely abandon our original, like, values just because, I mean, yeah, we all left the clans for a reason, but that doesn't mean we need to abandon our culture. I don't know, two religious war, blah, 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 girls shouldn't, everyone already know this bullshit. Exactly. Now, if I wanted to start a book or a story like that with a monologue or something, or have a audience surrogate being like, Daddy, what's that mean? And you're like, well, son, that's when this and this and this and that. But that's the thing, you also have to bear in mind unreliable narrators. History is rewritten all the time. Not every random, especially in fantasy, not every peasant actually knows the history of their country. They're not taught that. Half of them probably don't even know how to read. That was for the nobility. So unless you have, like, a young prince who's being tutored, and then he's spacing out while his tutor goes on, and then in 1776, are you paying attention? Then you can have exposition dump, and it's like a boring history class, but then you sneak in little tidbits of lore that is going to be astronomically important later. You know, setup, payoff, Chekhov's gun. If there's a gun on the foyer in Act 1, it must go off by Act 3. You know? Literary tropes existing for a reason. It's okay to not appreciate. It should be the other way. Every single writing trope, and you don't have to. But some tropes exist for a reason. It's because that's how human brains work. Is it cloud? No, it's not cloudy at all. The mere fact that they are tropes makes them sour. Probably, yeah. It's because when you engage a lot with story, like when you read a lot of books, you're going to pick up on a lot of literary tropes. And then some literary tropes show up more than others. Not all tropes are created equal. And then you're just gonna roll your eyes and go, ugh, this trope again? Which is why horror fans aren't really scared by modern horror films anymore. Because it's that you've already watched a lot of horror. If you watch a lot of one genre, you're going to be a little bit more in tune with the tropes of that genre. Not saying those tropes are bad, just we want creatives to get a little creative with their use of tropes and archetypes. It's hard not to continue to notice it. Exactly. Synchronicity. That's what that phenomenon is called. When you first notice something, then you notice it everywhere. What is it? Was that thing always there? Or is it because you are aware of it, it appears more? Frequency illusion. Oh, it might be that too. I thought it was called synchronicity. Or is synchronicity when you first learn of something, then you see examples of it everywhere? I don't recall. Alright, I shouldn't get too lost in the weeds of this because it is a more. There we go. It might be the same thing. Because we have a lot of phrases that kind of mean the same thing, but are meant for slightly different situations. And sometimes certain phrases are used so much, they lose their original meaning, to where people forget what the phrase actually meant. Like the phrase, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Most old people will say, yep, you just need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps and then get going. That's what we had to do back in our day. You young people don't blah, 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 blah. Without even recognizing that the original phrase, pull yourself up from your bootstraps, was sarcasm. That was meant as a sarcastic remark for pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That is literally impossible. The phrase is a sarcastic remark. It's like, well, you just need to do the impossible, and that's how you get things done. It was satire. Well, not really satire. Just satire and sarcasm are slightly different. But it's not meant to be something you can feasibly do. It is literally impossible to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Think about that physically. It's literally impossible. So when they keep continuing to use that phrase like it actually means something, they forget they're telling you to do the impossible. And they expect you to do it. Because they don't even know what they're saying. Semantics. Etymology is a favorite pastime of mine. Now, etymology is specifically the origin and meaning of words, but phrases are just a collection of words, so I also lump them together with my etymology studies. It's really fun. If you want to just blow an evening and then completely blow your mind with what you thought your understanding of the English or of any language is, check out the etymology of those common words. Not to be confused with entomology. Entomology is the study of insects. As illustrated in that one Phineas and Ferb clip. Oh, I need to remember, things get lighter the farther they are away. We have that in English. Yep. Yep. A lot of English is also Latin. And in the Greek. Also a lot of Germanic and Old Norse words. It's fascinating, really. It was like, oh, English is such a stupid language. It's overcomplicated. It's got all these different languages mixed in. It's like, yeah, it's got all these languages mixed in, and it is still somehow legible. That is impressive. People still learn it. It is a damn near impossible language, yet people still learn it. That is fascinating. Okay, so she is right here. So that means I need to deepen this shadow just a little bit. Because of colon. Exactly. Yeah. But I was also thinking about kids in America still learning English. Well, they used to anyway. I don't know if it's still possible now. Don't want to really get into it, but it's a really big issue that is getting ever bigger. I don't think anyone would give a shit about English if the British Empire didn't happen. You're not far off. Okay, this needs to be lighter. I'm having a thought. Can I do that? No, bear with me, guys. Bear with me. Walk with me. There were no clouds that night, but that didn't mean there didn't have to be fog. And then with the, come on, save. Oh, I should get at the render reference. Where is that? Here. Then at overlay 69, nice, percent. come in here with some coloring. I'm just trying to see what it looks like. And then with shading as an addition. Maybe if I make this a little bit deeper. There we go. A little bit deeper. A little lighter, less saturated. And then the night sky. That's not dark enough. This doesn't look like much now, but bear with me. Because this is a night scene, I'm probably gonna have to do a multiply at 20%. Just to make sure everything is the correct dark hue for a night scene. And then make sure I use that same lighting on the characters. Okay. Grayscale Chips is genius, by the way. Trick. I can't take credit for that because I learned it from another... God, I don't even know if they still make videos anymore, but there was this one art channel I saw where they were doing an illustration, and it was a highly detailed illustration, and they were talking about how they start in grayscale to make sure all everything has the proper value so things stand out. So if even if someone who is colorblind looked at the art piece, that it would still stand out. And I used to think that was stupid because I'm like, why do I have to keep... This was my dumbass young person mentality, so I do not think this now. I was like, why do I have to keep colorblind people in mind for when I'm doing art for people who can see color? Why do I have to do that? Again, bad mentality to have. Now, I'm like, oh, this isn't for colorblind people. This is just for all people, because all people see this way. This is just what makes it look good. Okay, so this can be a little bit... Another thing to keep in mind with the grayscale thing is the darker the color is, the more vibrant the pigment. The more pigmented the colors are going to be, I think. So, if you're like, oh yeah, I'll just have it this light color. Well, if we come in here with the green, that doesn't mean it's going to be a light green. It just means it's going to be a paler green. You see? It's a lot of trial and error and just learning how the technique works. And I'm doing grayscale on a normal layer, and then I add color with an overlay layer at 69%. And then I also supplement all of the coloring with shading, lighting, and colored line art. It seems complicated. it kinda is. However, I just came up with this by screwing around. I mean, it just fuck around and find out. That phrase doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing. Sometimes that's how you learn. Yuck around and find out. And you can tell based on my old pages versus my newer pages that my backgrounds were suffering. There were some pages where the trees looked amazing, but then when I tried to do some leaves or some shrubbery, they just looked like green blobs of bleh. So that's when I went on, when I was on hiatus, I just sat back and went, okay, something's got to give. And then I worked on my, The Night We Met animatic. And for that one, I was like, you know what, I'll try something different. I'm gonna start with grayscale, because the last animatic I did was completely grayscale, but I want to add some color to it. So I'll just overlay some color and see how that looks. This is all experimental. And then it was doing something else that I figured out my illustration style. Because then when I was working on the pages and then added the color, and I just sat back and went, oh my god, that is the coolest looking tree I've ever rendered in my entire life. I need to implement this into my common style yesterday. And I did. The only problem now is that when I render files, they're chongus. A huge storage space. So now, if I'm going to be posting them on Comic Fury more, I'm like, oh god, alright, I'm going to have to think a little bit more critically about how big these pages are going to be, because the website can only handle so much. There we go. Because this is a creek, it doesn't have to be as dark, but I still like it to have just a little bit of color to show that this is River Clan territory. Is through environmental storytelling I tried to tell which clan each cat was from. I don't think I succeeded with some of them, but ugh, c'est la vie. Such is life. can't get too carried away because this is a river, so things flow in directions, but not in straight lines. There are no straight lines in nature unless it's bismuth. Or that one stalactite formation that formed sideways, which baffled scientists. It was so funny. This is the part of the comic that actually takes the longest, especially if I don't have clear line art. Because sometimes for a sketch, I was like, alright, the characters need to be here, and the dialogue needs to fit in here somewhere, and... fuck, I don't know. I'll put a tree in the background, I don't know. It was so funny watching the original VOD for the live stream. I was complaining like, oh my god, oh, there's gonna be trees in every background. Oh no, man. I hate drawing trees. And now, I'm like, oh, there's no trees in this background. What do I do? The paradox of learning. Well, then I learned how to render trees, and then it wasn't even that hard. What I was resisting was something that just wasn't that big a deal to begin with. I'm not a fan of that. Not a fan. Let's just make this big. There we go. Not sure how I would fix it though. I just want to get to the trees. Through the trees, I will find you. I will heal the ruins left inside you. 'Cause I'm still here breathing now. I'm still here breathing now. I'm still here breathing now. Until I'm set free, I'll go quiet through the trees. It's been a while since I've heard that song. That's so good. It's called Through the Trees by Low Shoulder. It's a little unfortunate that they only have 2 songs, but they were a fictional band made just for a movie that I haven't seen yet. Okay, that's not bad, that's not bad, it's not bad. We saved it. It doesn't quite look like RiverClan territory, though, but we can get away with it by saying that they're leaving, because I don't feel like drawing a bunch of cattails. Not actual cattails, but, you know, like reeds. I'm not in the mood. One of those things we'll just figure out later when we have hours to just stare at a single frame or panel or whatever. But how are we doing, Bessie? Are we doing okay? We've been streaming for 2.5 hours. I think my computer's okay. Ah, stop it. It is just a massive improvement. Okay, we can think about that one later. When we do this one. See, the fun part, the part that I like the most about doing this grayscale, is I don't have to worry about coloring just yet. I can only think about the texture, how things feel, and make them look like they feel something. And I'm just drawing shapes. Now, you don't see most of this tree, so we don't have to get too crazy. You know how tree bark has got those layers to them and all that. So I can just kind of go with the flow, get lost in the sauce. There's also a little bit of shading here and there. We got the rocks to show that, yes, this is ThunderClan territory. Because they got a fallen tree in the middle of their camp and a pile of rocks and a quarry. There we go. Now, since the sky is supposed to be back there, so that means this. Because it is night, it's only a crescent moon. The moon would be over the lake, so maybe the teensest bit of lighting just to illuminate the characters. And then a little bit of the quarry. Because ThunderClan territory is supposed to be dense foliage. Like trees and whatnot. Wow, ShadowClan is thick, dark pine trees with not as much foliage because, you know, pine. Not exactly the most welcoming environment for shrubberies. There. That way, this is at least a baseline that I can jump off later. And it ain't so dang hot. Same with this one. This one, we just did trees. I'll do a lighter line. Oops. That's at least a start. I don't want Shadow Clan territory to look like a, you know, like a prison. But there is a distinct difference between territories. They all have different biospheres. In old Shadow Clan territory, it used to be marshy with some pines. But when they moved, then it became, they found a place that was not as marshy, but, I mean, maybe there was a bit of marshes in there, I don't know. It's not a bayou, that's for certain. But it's in the pines. In the pines, where the sun don't ever shine, I will shiver that whole night through. I love Nirvana. My girl, don't lie to me. Tell me, where did you sleep last night? In the pines, where the sun don't ever shine, I will shiver that whole night through. My girl, don't lie to me. Tell me, where did you sleep last night? In the pines, where the sun don't ever shine, I will shiver that whole night through. Dun, 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 dun. something like that. I think I'm gonna end stream soon, like around here, because it is so flipping hot. And I ain't had lunch yet. So far, we gotta appreciate how much work we did get done. I mean, I got all the base colors down. We started on the background. 2 frames are done. 2 frames are started, and the last one is going to be probably that last frame at the bottom is probably going to be a whole live stream on its own. I might work on this a little bit away from stream, but I do have a lot of other things that I'm trying to get good and ready, because when September rolls around, I'm not gonna actually have all month to work on my project. There's gonna be a lot of things that come up that are gonna, like, okay, I need to work on this, but then I can't work this day, so that means that whole day is shot because family's coming over. And then there's a few other days where some personal holidays are coming up, and that's an all-day thing, so it's like, great, so then that's shot. However, oh, and next week is fair, so with family coming up, say, how the hell can you commit to one thing this hard? It's like magic to me. It's the only thing I've got going for me, and if I don't do it, I feel like my life is meaningless, and then I'll just die. That's how you commit. You just devote your entire life's purpose to that thing, and if that thing doesn't work out, you just die. Don't do that, for the love of God, don't do that. Don't do that. Do not be like me. Live healthy. Don't get addicted to caffeine. Drink water. Exercise more. Get out. Make friends. Be sociable. Have fallback plans. Like more than 3 things in the world. You know? Because, Star Wars has stopped making good things, so I've got nothing left on that front. Transformers hasn't really been, like, as active as it used to be. We got Transformers 1 was really good, but then, like, the latest shows have just been kind of mediocre. And then, like, everything else is kind of dead and gone, so, whatever. I'm afraid it's too late for that girl. Well, never too late. Never too late to get obsessed with something else. Anyway, I will see you all later. For September, I think I'm still going to be streaming Fridays on YouTube. Like, I will maintain that schedule for when I'm streaming, but I don't know. I hope so. The first few Fridays of September are gonna be, like, completely dedicated to previous obligations. So, we shall see. And in the meantime, you can check out the comic that I was just working on, the redo, on Comic Fury or DeviantArt, which is linked in the description. I've got other things going on, but they all secret. Whoosh. Yeah, bye!